Alright, get ready for some woo-woo. This strange island has been keeping a secret for 80 years. Our story begins in the Tasman Sea, the body of water between Australia and New Zealand. It's exactly here where the Lord Howe Island Group had been lying unperturbed until 1788. That year changed everything in the history of this lost place, as British Lieutenant Henry Lichbird Ball discovered the central island of this group as he was on his way to a nearby Norfolk Island. Having fulfilled his mission, Ball was heading home when he decided to claim a newly uncovered territory for his country. At that time, nobody could have imagined the surprises this island would have in store for people decades later. After Ball's discovery, permanent settlements had already been established on the main island by 1834. Despite being just 6.2 miles long, Lord Howe Island represented, and still represents, an idyllic picture of a tropical paradise. As for the rest of the islands belonging to this group, they were mostly rocky volcanic landmasses. Once people started finding out about the islands, they became a place of buzzing activity and world-changing benchmarks. Right after the discovery, the place was used as a port for whalers. But when this industry went into decline, another precious commodity was discovered on the islands: kentia palms. Somewhere around the 1880s, entrepreneurs started exporting these trees from the island. As a result, these flowering palms now grow all over the world, and after the Second World War, Lord Howe Island became a popular tourist destination. Nowadays, this magical place, with all kinds of natural, historical, and cultural sites, can proudly boast the title of a World Heritage Site. The waters surrounding the islands form the Lord Howe Marine Park, and all of the group's 28 islands are protected by the Lord Howe Island Act of 1981. However, with all that lush terrain and unexplored forests home to countless wildlife species, you can't help but wonder what mysteries this magical place hides. Well, the islands do indeed have their own secrets, and one of the biggest ones came to light not too long ago. No, it wasn't found out on the main island. To get to it, we'll need to head southwest from the middle of the group, where we'll run into the famous Ball's Pyramid. And why is it so well known? There are no people living on this island and no beautiful beaches or bright exotic flowers. It's simply the tallest volcanic rock formation in the entire world. Standing at 1,844 feet high, this island is a remnant of an ancient 6-million-year-old volcano. It's pretty weird that for a whole century after this huge sky-piercing rock was discovered by the already familiar to you Lieutenant Henry Ball, nobody stepped on its land. It wasn't until 1882 that geologist Henry Wilkinson organized the first documented journey to this place. And that opened the floodgates. People immediately wanted to conquer this rebellious tower of volcanic rock. However, for a long time, nobody managed to subdue Ball's Pyramid. For instance, in 1964, some Australian climbers had to stop their ascent when their supplies ran out. But in 1965, just a year later, 4 members of the Sydney Rock Climbing Club eventually reached the top. Before we get ahead of ourselves, though, it's worth mentioning that rock climbing was completely banned on the island throughout the 80s. And if you want to give it a shot nowadays, get ready for a lengthy and complicated application process. Once you've gotten through all the red tape, you just might be able to triumph over the inhospitable rock. And you need to be especially persistent in your application process if you want to see this island's huge mystery we've been building up so far. Alright, we won't keep you waiting any longer. This rocky, hostile island is home to a very rare life form, Dryococcelus australis, also known as the Lord Howe Island stick insect, or my personal favorite, the tree lobster. This massive bug is actually in the same family as walking sticks. But they should call this thing a walking branch by the size of it. Anyways, these guys were abundant on the island until the beginning of the 20th century, and then the species just disappeared out of nowhere, as if these shiny black insects had never existed at all. Not to mention, Dryococcelus australis is an enigma in and of itself. It behaves dramatically different from other insects of this family. First of all, they mate for life. Can you imagine? Insects in love. Excuse me, I don't mean to bug you, but I find you attractive. This fact alone puzzles researchers to no end. Why would they do that if the females don't even need the males in order to reproduce? They can do that completely on their own. So, what's with the lifelong coupling? Nobody knows. Unfortunately, the fate of these insects was a tragic one. And yes, that was past tense. In 1918, a ship ran aground near the Lord Howe Island, bringing disaster along with black rats. These rodents managed to completely wipe out the entire population of these stick insects within just 2 years. In 1920, scientists declared the species extinct. Knowing all this, imagine the pure amazement of a group of climbers that encountered the remains of Dryococcelus australis when they were ascending Ball's Pyramid in 1964. This finding seemed strange, as the insects hadn't been seen, neither dead or alive, for 44 years. Several decades passed, and within this period of time, scientists discovered even more dead specimens. Unfortunately, they couldn't find the source of the insects. The big mystery finally came to light in 2001, when a group of researchers traveled to Ball's Pyramid to conduct their own investigation. They had no luck during the day, so they decided to conduct their research at night. After all, the insects were evolutionarily nocturnal. Good news, their persistence paid off. They ended up finding 24 of these bugs that had been so appropriately nicknamed the rarest insect in the world. It was a huge breakthrough. Nowadays, these guys aren't that extremely rare anymore. In 2003, a pair of them was taken from the island for breeding purposes, and by 2016, they'd already hatched over 13,000 eggs. These eggs were distributed across zoos in Canada, the US, and Europe to make sure there will always be a backup in case any problems with the main group arise. And that's how a tiny community that had managed to survive and hide from people for 80 years saved itself as a species. Do you feel happy for the Dryococcelus australis? I'm happy that I can even pronounce it. Would you call yourself a happy bee upon hearing this news? Well, apparently that expression isn't as ridiculous as it sounds. In 2016, scientists found that bees feel emotions. At least they feel something akin to happiness when they get sugar water. London-based researchers discovered that bees who were given sweet treats responded to stimuli faster than those left without any yummy reward. This led to the conclusion that bees can feel positive emotions. Going even further, if they can feel happy, then surely they experience negative emotions too. If you ever find yourself running away from a bee you tried to swat but missed, then you probably made him angry or scared, and he's coming after you for revenge. Be afraid. Actually, in recent years, scientists have made a lot of amazing discoveries having to do with the animal kingdom. For example, researchers just discovered the Greenland shark in 2017. According to records, with a lifespan of over 400 years, this shark is the longest living vertebrate on our planet, even longer than my stepmother. One of the reasons for such longevity is the environment the animal lives in. The freezing waters of the ocean floor are well known for significantly slowing down metabolism, but scientists still hope that these sharks hold other secrets to a long life that we humans might be able to get in on. And yet even more good news. Thanks to incredible and successful conservation efforts, humpback whales and pandas are no longer considered endangered species. The giant panda was moved from endangered to vulnerable on the list of species at risk of extinction. That happened after a number of giant pandas in the wild in China reached 1,864 in 2014, which meant a 17% increase in the population. As for humpback whales, 9 out of 14 populations of the species were removed from the list. 1 was marked threatened, and only 4 are still endangered. Isn't that fantastic? Do you know any other positive wildlife news? Would you dare to hold a giant stick insect in your hand? Ooh! Tell us in the comments below. Don't forget to click subscribe to stay on the bright side of life.